and it's Wednesday the 3rd of February 2021, and this is the horoscope of Kamala Harris, the elected Vice President of the United States of America. Kamala Harris was born on the 20th of October 1964 at 28 minutes past 9 in the evening in Oakland, California, which makes her a Libra with Gemini rising and the moon in Aries. She was born pretty much precisely 18 minutes before the new moon, the full moon, I'm sorry. So she's definitely a full moon baby. The challenge is in her chart with Chiron in the 10th house, opposite the conjunction of Venus, Uranus and Pluto. It makes her, when younger at least, a lot more inconfident about being in public, much better at dealing with individuals rather than dealing with groups, rather than lecturing to groups. But she's had to overcome this, and I suggest that since she's been 51, since the Chiron return, she's become a lot more comfortable about marketing and promoting herself into and onto the outside world. With Saturn on the midheaven, admittedly not challenged severely, and certainly very strongly trine her sun, she is very comfortable about handling responsibility and authority. And when it comes to words like coordinating, organising, managing, facilitating, she's right there at the very top of the game. Indeed, with Saturn trining her sun, she's one of these kids that's born old and she gets younger as she gets older. The other big challenge in a chart is, of course, the full moon. With that moon in Aries, she can set herself short by wanting to be popular in community at some cost to her personal self-esteem, but I get the impression she's overcome that. There are a few difficult squares to her Mars, not strong, but strong enough. Square Jupiter, square Neptune. So I think that she's never been the most subtle, tactful or diplomatic in terms of being able to voice her opinions or to carry her arguments through. But then she does have Gemini rising, and her ascendant is in a perfect grand trine with both the Sun and Saturn. So she's seen as someone who has the capacity for order, structure, self-discipline and loyalty amongst all else, above all else. And she's seen as good at dealing with all systems of authority. And this does suggest that she's in this for the very long run. There's one or two other lovely aspects in her chart, particularly the sextile from the moon to Saturn. That does give emotional stability. Yes, it's because it's moon's in Aries. There's a little bit of the drama queen here, but when everyone else is losing it, that's when she goes rock solid and deals with situations in a way that's yes, no, black, white. There's also a lovely sextile from Mars to the Ascendant, which doesn't in itself give good health, but does give very good recovery and recuperative powers. She will always get better fast. At the moment, Pluto is brewing up to square her Sun and her Moon. Not this year, but 2022 and 2023. Now, she's going to come of age at this time. It is a dangerous transit. If I were her astrologer, I would be saying to her over 22 and 23, you've got to watch your back. There's going to be a lot of subversive and coercive and manipulative behind the scenes tactics trying to derail her. But bearing in mind her history, she's no stranger to this and she will come through it. Neptune is not challenging her chart at all, and neither is Uranus. So there's no sense of new drama in the near future for her. And Saturn is also not being any type of problem. I note with interest that later this year, Jupiter will stand still very close to, if not exactly on top of her midheaven over the period of June and July. So I do expect her to be pushed more and more into the public spotlight later this year as we get into the third quarter of this year. I also note that although that Biden and Harris have very different moon signs, they're next to each other. She has the moon in Aries, he has the moon in Taurus, which is not normally a compatible mix. But her moon is at 27.5 degrees of Aries. His moon is at 0, nearly 1 degree of Taurus. So they're only 3.5 degrees, less than 3.5 degrees away from each other. And although they're in different signs, they're still conjunct moons. And when you have two people with the moon conjunct to each other, they generally find a great deal of synergy, empathy and ambience with each other, in terms of they both feel the same. They both go through similar moods at the same time. So I can't see any conflict between Biden and Harris as coming up. I note also with interest that although the office of the Vice President only became hers by right at midday on the day of the inauguration, but she actually took the oath at 11, well, depends who you believe, but either 11:41 or 11:42. And the thing is that with Biden taking the oath 8 minutes later, the office of president for him is going to be more of a transformative thing with Pluto on the midheaven. But with Harris, the overriding factor is Uranus on the ascendant. So she is not going to be a patsy. She's just not going to sit in the background and just play follow the leader. She's going to have her own opinions, beliefs, and if Biden's sensible, he will give her a specific remits, specific tasks, which she will then fulfill to the very best of her ability. She's in this game for a long time, and she's going to be a major mover and shaker over the coming years. And at some stage in the future, I do expect her to be having the chance at becoming the next president, or a president at some stage in the future. And I think she'd make a great president. With that, it might even be sooner than we think. I'm not going to be drawn into whether Biden will serve a full term or not. I am going to state that Harris is going to be a lot more of a live wire than most people expect. And I do expect her to become much more than just a kind of patsy vice president, as many vice presidents in the past have been. She's got a really big future.